Mike Allen from Chicagoland here, broadcasting from Bolingbrook, Illinois today, and we're at Clow International Airport, checking out the Illinois Aviation Museum. Looking forward to showing this to everybody. Hope you'll come and join me, and let's get started. And if you haven't done so yet, please remember to hit that subscribe button. I promise once we hit 1,000 subscribers, I will stop asking. So the museum is in that hangar with the door that's opened. And those are the planes that we've been checking out on display here. And yeah, sits right up against the Clow International Airport. What I also thought was pretty cool and unique about this airfield is it butts up right against all those houses. So you can have an air show every single day if you lived in that neighborhood. Right up against this landing strip here. This is a T-33 Thunderbird here on display. First exhibition took place at Luke Air Force Base a week after it started public exhibitions in 1953. And they actually have the plane right here on display. Looks like on this Thunderbird the fuselage is left, but the wings have been taken off. Some information about the Peton Pole Air Camper. Built in 1928. Says the gentleman was a self-taught mechanic. Here's kind of a look inside this airplane here, as well as zoom out, get to see the wings. There's a rear view of the air camper and what it looks like from this angle. German aircraft called the Red Baron. Has the wooden propellers on it. And let's see if we can get, even has the gunnery part right there. Here's another angle from the Red Baron. Guns in tow. And one more view of the Red Baron from the back end of the airplane. Here they also have a picture of the Red Baron in action during World War I. Now I've seen the Huey helicopter before on display in other museums I've visited. They have one at this museum as well. Used primarily during the Vietnam War. Looks like they got pretty much the whole thing here. Get a look inside. Here's a look inside the front cockpit of the Huey. Here in front of the helicopter, they got a sign that kind of showcases what the helicopter was used for during the Vietnam War. Resupply, fire support, and airmobile transport. Here on display is another World War I era fighter plane, the Fokker E-3. It's got the wooden propeller up there. It's interesting that these World War I era planes have these bicycle-looking wheels. Well, the Wright brothers did start out as bicycle makers before turning their attention to aircraft. So this is an all-metal structure, the Pacific D-8, 1970. Here on display up on the ceiling, massive wingspan. Right above the Huey is another World War I airplane, the Newport 12. Right over here. It says on the sign that this airplane, the Newport 12, was more of a reconnaissance plane during the war. They would basically just go out and gain intelligence to bring back to headquarters and give the fighter planes information on where they need to attack. This here is a Link trainer, which was developed in 1929 as the world's first aviation test pilot training device. Get a closer look inside the Link trainer here. Here's a Lockheed Martin ejector seat. And I love that these air museums always have a diorama here on display. This was built by personnel from a local Air Force base about 130 miles south of here. That was open until 1993. They just kind of put together this basic diorama here of an air base. It's another diorama built by that same personnel from the Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois. They built the one I just showed and this one as well. There's another diorama of a World War I era air base. Something that you would typically see in Europe during that First World War. Here's another of some aircraft of World War I era. This is a wooden propeller of a Beech Model 18 civilian and military airplane from the late 1930s. This display case is called the Warbirds of World War I. There's quite a bit of World War I items here in this museum. What I like about this display here is it shows how the planes were in 1914, and then gradually you see how they become more sophisticated as the war dragged on all the way up into 1918. Tend to get a lot more sophisticated and technologically sound compared to when the war started. It's cut off by caution tape here, but this appears to be part of a hot air balloon. Here's another wooden propeller from the Ryan PT-22 from 1941. A gentleman by the name of Frank Modica, who lived in nearby Berwyn, used to create model planes of World War II era aircraft. And these are just some of his planes that he made by hand out of wood. Amazing craftsmanship. There's a picture of the Japanese surrender, which ended World War II in 1945. I also found a scale model of the Enola Gay, which dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Here they got a boatload of other model airplanes on display, but the one that caught my eye was the SR-71 Blackbird. Read up on the history of this airplane and how cutting edge it was at the time when it came out in the late 60s, early 70s. Quite fascinating story behind it. We also have quite a few commercial airplane models here on display. Boeing 747. Also a few others here. Trans World Airlines propeller plane. It's got powered by 4 propellers there. Also on display, they had the F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter. This museum also has a library of sorts with some planes on display, showing some modern day technology with the B-2 stealth bomber. And then if you go over here, they've got the original Wright brothers airplane that they flew in 1903, which started our journey down this aviation rabbit hole. So this is a declaration that this flag here was aboard an American C-17 aircraft stationed in Turkey in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, and it was presented to the Illinois Aviation Museum in 2008. Here's a plane from Lockheed, the T-33 Shooting Star. It says Air Force trainer on loan from the National Museum of Naval Aviation. Let's go up and check it out. It's an amazing looking aircraft with a pretty massive wingspan. And then try to get as best I can shot from the pilot's angle. I didn't see a sign saying what kind of airplane this is. However, it does look like something Indiana Jones would have flown in back in the 1930s. As Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade era. Climb right in through this small door here. Peek out this window. This plane here is an A4C Skyhawk. Another one from the United States Navy. See if we can get a look inside the cockpit here, as well as the wing and the tail. This here is the T2C Buckeye, which is a Navy jet trainer here on display at the museum. So they said this Buckeye was on loan from the National Naval Aviation Museum. We'll get a look inside the cockpit, as well as the co-pilot's seat and the wingspan. Really, the highlight of this museum is definitely the military aircraft, but they do have quite a bit of civilian aircraft here on display. Doesn't really say what many of these planes are, but they're very similar in size and speed of the aircraft that are flying out of the Clow International Airport. So this one says ground bound in Bolingbrook, and it's done in the Walt Disney font here. So I'm not sure what the significance behind that is. Not sure this thing ever flew if it says ground bound. I guess it doesn't fly and just runs on the ground here. With that, we are going to end today's video. If you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it. As a reminder, I will stop asking once we hit to 1,000. Anyways, this is Mike Allen from Chicagoland, signing off from Bolingbrook, Illinois, and the Clow International Airport. I'll be back next week with another video, but until then, don't you go changing.